The wedding invitation sat on my kitchen table mocking me. Gold letters on cream paper. My ex-husband Richard was getting married. Again. And he wanted me there to watch. My name is May. I'm 68 years old. When I opened that envelope 3 weeks ago, I never imagined what would happen next. What started as a cruel joke turned into something else entirely. Something that would expose lies buried for 15 years and force me to confront a past I thought I'd left behind. This is the story of how one wedding invitation changed everything. I was making coffee when the mail arrived that Tuesday morning. Bills, catalogs, and then that envelope. Thick, expensive paper. My name written in elegant calligraphy. Mrs. May Henderson. I hadn't been Mrs. Henderson in 15 years, not since Richard and I divorced. My hands shook as I opened it. Richard Charles Henderson and Victoria Marie Laurent request the honor of your presence at their wedding ceremony. Victoria, his assistant, the woman who used to bring him coffee and organize his meetings, the woman he swore was just an employee when I found those text messages all those years ago. There was a handwritten note inside. May, I know this might seem strange, but Victoria and I would really love for you to be there. You were such an important part of my life. We're family, in a way. Richard, family. The word made my stomach turn. We hadn't been family since he walked out 15 years ago, leaving me with a mortgage I couldn't afford, and debts I didn't know existed. We hadn't been family when I had to sell our house and move into a tiny apartment. We hadn't been family when our daughter Emma stopped speaking to him because he missed her college graduation for a business trip with Victoria. I threw the invitation in the trash. Then I took it out. Read it again. Threw it away again. My neighbor Carol knocked on my door that afternoon. She did this every Tuesday. We'd have tea and complain about our creaky knees and the rising cost of groceries. You look upset, she said as soon as she saw my face. I showed her the invitation. Carol, who had been divorced twice herself, didn't even blink. He's trying to rub it in your face. Men like that need validation. They need the ex-wife to see them happy with someone younger. But why would I give him that satisfaction? Exactly. Don't go. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night I called my daughter Emma. She lived in Chicago now, worked as a lawyer, had her own life. We talked once a week, usually on Sundays. Mom, she said when I told her about the invitation, please tell me you're not actually considering this. I don't know what I'm considering. Dad is doing what he always does, making everything about him. He probably wants you there so he can show off how much better his life is now. Emma hadn't forgiven him, not for the affair, not for the lies, not for choosing Victoria over his own family. The thing is, I said slowly, I've been thinking about it all day, and I realized something. I'm not angry anymore. What? I'm not angry, Emma. I thought I would be. But I'm just curious. Curious about what kind of person sends their ex-wife a wedding invitation. Curious about what he wants. Mom, don't do this to yourself. But I'd already made up my decision. I was going to that wedding. The wedding was in 3 weeks. I had nothing to wear. All my nice clothes were at least 5 years old, and honestly, I'd put on weight. My knees hurt. My hair was more gray than brown. I looked my age. Carol thought I was insane. You're really going through with this? I am. Then at least let's make you look amazing. If you're going to walk into that wedding, you're going to walk in like you own the place. She dragged me shopping. We spent an entire Saturday going through department stores. I tried on dress after dress. Too tight, too young, too frumpy, too trying too hard. Finally, in a small boutique on 5th Street, I found it. A navy blue dress, simple but elegant. It made me look dignified, confident, like a woman who had survived and come out stronger. Carol made me buy new shoes, too, and a haircut, and makeup. When I looked in the mirror the day before the wedding, I barely recognized myself. I looked good, not young, not trying to compete with a 35-year-old bride. but good in my own way. The wedding was at the Riverside Hotel, the same place Richard and I had celebrated our 20th anniversary. Another slap in the face, though I doubted Richard even remembered. I drove there alone. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. What was I doing? Why was I putting myself through this? The parking lot was full of expensive cars, BMWs, Mercedes, a Tesla. Richard had done well for himself after our divorce. His consulting business had taken off right around the time he left me. Convenient timing. I walked into the hotel lobby and followed the signs to the ballroom. There were already people gathering, women in designer dresses and men in tailored suits. I recognized a few faces from our old life together. Richard's business partners, his golf buddies. Some of them saw me and did double takes. May? Is that you? It was Gerald Winters, Richard's former colleague. We'd had dinner at his house a dozen times when we were married. Gerald, hello. I didn't expect to see you here. He looked genuinely confused. Richard invited me. He did? Gerald's face said everything he was too polite to speak out loud. How strange. How awkward. How very like Richard to do something dramatic. Where should I sit? I asked, suddenly feeling lost. Oh, I think there are place cards inside. The ballroom was decorated in white and gold. Roses everywhere. A string quartet played in the corner. About 150 people milled around, champagne glasses in hand. And there, near the front, talking to an older couple, was Richard. He looked older, gray at the temples, a few more wrinkles, but still trim, still well-dressed, still with that confident smile that had first attracted me 40 years ago. He saw me. His face went through several emotions in quick succession. Surprise, discomfort, something that might have been guilt. Then he excused himself from the couple and walked over. May, you came. You invited me. I know, but I didn't think you actually would. Why did you invite me, Richard? He shifted his weight, suddenly looking less confident. Victoria thought it would be nice. A gesture of goodwill, Victoria thought. She's more forgiving than I deserve. She thought that since we're all adults now, we could move past the unpleasantness. Unpleasantness. That's what he called abandoning his wife of 25 years. Where should I sit? Oh, anywhere, really. It's open seating except for the family tables. Family. There was that word again. I found a seat near the back, next to a woman I didn't know who introduced herself as Victoria's cousin. We made small talk. The weather, the beautiful flowers, how lovely the venue was. Then the music changed and everyone stood. Victoria appeared at the back of the room. She was beautiful. Of course she was. Blonde, slim, probably size 4, in a white dress that must have cost more than my car. She glided down the aisle on her father's arm, smiling that perfect smile. Richard watched her walk toward him, and his face transformed. He looked happy, genuinely happy, more happy than I'd seen him in the last decade of our marriage. And I felt nothing. No jealousy, no anger, no pain, just emptiness. The ceremony was short. Traditional vows, rings exchanged, a kiss, applause. I clapped along with everyone else, feeling like I was watching a movie about someone else's life. The reception started immediately after. Dinner was served. Salmon or chicken? I chose salmon. It was overcooked. I watched Richard and Victoria at the head table, laughing with their wedding party. Young people, mostly. Victoria's friends from work. Richard's new business partners. I didn't recognize any of them. How completely he had rebuilt his life without me. A woman approached my table. She was maybe 45, dressed in an expensive pantsuit. You're May, aren't you? I am. I'm Diane. I work with Richard at the firm. He's told me a lot about you. Oh, he said you two had a good run. That you were married for a long time. 25 years. Diane smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She knows something, I thought. Can I ask you something? Diane glanced around to make sure no one was listening. Why did you come today? Honestly, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. Because if I were you," she said quietly, "I would have burned that invitation before I could respond." The music started and Richard took Victoria onto the dance floor for their first dance. Some slow song I didn't recognize. They swayed together, lost in their own world. After a few minutes, other couples joined them. I sat alone at my table watching. Then Richard did something I didn't expect. He walked over to my table. "May, would you dance with me?" "Just one dance." Everyone nearby stopped talking. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. "Why would I do that, Richard?" "For old time's sake, please." Something in his voice made me stand up. Maybe curiosity, maybe closure, maybe stupidity. He led me onto the dance floor and we began to move to the music. It was awkward at first. We'd danced together 1,000 times in our marriage. But this was different. Everything was different. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. "Why did you really invite me?" He was silent for a long moment. Then, because I needed to know. "Know what?" "If you were okay. If I'd completely destroyed you. If you hated me." I stopped moving, looked him in the eye. "I don't hate you, Richard. I don't feel anything for you at all." He flinched like I'd slapped him. "But I am okay. Better than okay, actually. I have a life. Friends. I'm happy." "Good. That's good." We finished the dance in silence. When the song ended, I walked away without looking back. I went to the bathroom to collect myself. Splashed water on my face. What was I doing here? When I came out, I nearly walked into Victoria. She was touching up her lipstick in the hallway mirror. "May," she said. "I'm so glad you came." "Are you?" She turned to face me. "Really, I am. I know this must be strange for you." Strange is one word for it. Richard talks about you sometimes. About your marriage. He has regrets, does he? "He does." She paused. "I need to tell you something. Something he doesn't know I know." I waited. "The affair started 2 years before you found out. Not 6 months like he told you. 2 years. The words hung in the air between us. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserved the truth then, and you deserve it now." She looked me straight in the eye. "And because I found texts on his phone last month. From his new assistant, Sarah." My stomach dropped. "Oh, Victoria, I know what you're thinking. That I'm getting what I deserve. That once a cheater, always a cheater." "I wasn't thinking that," I said, and realized it was true. I felt sorry for her. "I'm going through with the wedding," she continued. "I've invested too much time. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's different with me." "Maybe," I agreed, though we both knew better. "But I wanted you to know. I wanted someone to know. In case in 10 years I'm where you are now." She walked away, leaving me standing in the hallway. I went back to my seat. Watched the toasts, the cake cutting, the bouquet toss. And then I saw something that made everything click into place. Richard was on his phone, texting someone. He was smiling. That same secretive smile I'd seen 1,000,000 times during our marriage. The smile I'd ignored for years because I didn't want to know the truth. And standing near the bar, watching him with hungry eyes, was a young woman in a red dress, mid-20s, pretty, holding her phone like she was waiting for a message. Sarah, I presumed. I looked at Victoria, dancing with her father, unaware. I looked at Richard, already planning his next conquest. And I understood why he'd invited me. Not for closure, not for forgiveness, not even to show off. He invited me to prove to himself that I was still broken, that leaving me had been the right choice, that he was the winner in our divorce. But I wasn't broken, not anymore. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked out of that ballroom. Carol was waiting up for me when I got home. She'd left her porch light on and saw me pull into the driveway. "Well?" she called from her doorway. I went inside, kicked off my expensive new shoes, and made myself a cup of tea. Carol came over a few minutes later. "How was it?" "Educational," I said. "And?" And I finally understand what I needed to understand. Richard didn't invite me to hurt me. He invited me because he needed something from me. Validation, maybe. Or forgiveness. Or proof that he'd won. Did you give it to him? I smiled. No, I gave him nothing. Because he deserves nothing. Good for you. We sat in comfortable silence, drinking our tea. You know what the funny thing is? I said. I spent 15 years angry about the divorce, angry about the betrayal, angry about the financial struggle, angry about everything he took from me. And now I realize he didn't take anything. I gave it to him, my peace, my happiness, my future. I handed it all over and blamed him for taking it. That's very wise, May. Tonight, seeing him with her, seeing him already looking at someone else, I understood. Some people are just takers. They take and take and take until there's nothing left, and then they move on to the next person. But not anymore, Carol said firmly. Not anymore. I agreed. 2 months later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that Richard and Victoria's marriage was already having problems. Apparently, Sarah, the assistant, had become a more permanent presence in Richard's life. Emma called me when she heard the news. Mom, I can't believe he's doing it again. I can, I said, but it's not my problem anymore. How are you so calm about this? Because I finally learned something important, sweetheart. Other people's mistakes are not my responsibility to fix. Richard will keep making the same choices until he doesn't. Victoria will decide if she wants to stay or go. That's their journey. Mine is completely separate. When did you get so wise? When I stopped letting other people's chaos become my chaos. A few days later, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. May? It was Victoria. She was crying. He's cheating on me. With Sarah. I found hotel receipts. I confronted him and he denied everything, but I know because I've been Sarah. I know all the signs. I'm sorry, Victoria. You were right to leave him. I should have listened to the warning signs. You were the warning sign. What are you going to do? I don't know. She sobbed quietly. Everything in my life is connected to him. My job, my apartment, my friends. If I leave, I lose everything. Not everything, I said gently. You keep yourself. And sometimes that's enough. Is it? Is it really enough? I thought about my tiny apartment, my Tuesday teas with Carol, my new watercolor painting class, my monthly dinners with Emma, my quiet, simple, drama-free life. Yes, I said with complete certainty. It is. We talked for another hour. I didn't tell her what to do. I just listened. Sometimes that's all people need. Someone to listen without judgment. When we hung up, I sat on my porch and watched the sunset. My life wasn't glamorous. I wasn't rich. I wasn't young. I didn't have a handsome husband or a big house or fancy cars. But I had peace. Real, genuine peace. And that was worth more than all the salmon dinners and string quartets in the world. The wedding invitation still sat in my desk drawer. Sometimes I took it out and looked at it. Not with anger or pain, but with gratitude. Because that invitation had given me something Richard never intended to give me. Closure. Not the closure of an apology or explanation, but the closure of finally, completely, letting go. I was May. I was 68 years old, and I was free. 3 months after the wedding, I heard Victoria had filed for divorce. She'd found a new job at a different firm. Started therapy. Joined a book club. She sent me a text. Thank you for that phone call. You helped me see I could survive this. I texted back. You'll do more than survive. Trust me, because I knew from experience. Rock bottom has a way of showing you who you really are. And sometimes, who you really are is stronger than you ever imagined. As for Richard, I heard he was already dating Sarah, officially. The cycle continued. Taker finding someone new to take from. But that was his story now, not mine. My story was about new beginnings, about learning that happiness doesn't come from another person. It comes from within. It comes from quiet mornings with coffee and Carol, it comes from Wednesday night watercolor. Classes where my paintings were terrible, but I didn't care. It comes from Sunday phone calls with Emma, where we laughed until we cried. It comes from looking in the mirror and liking the person looking back. The wedding invitation was supposed to be Richard's victory lap, his way of showing me he'd moved on and up. Instead, it became mine. Because I discovered something he never would, that the best revenge isn't showing up looking amazing, or finding someone better, or proving you've moved on. The best revenge is genuinely, completely not caring. And I didn't care. Not about Richard. Not about Victoria. Not about Sarah. Not about any of it. I cared about me. Finally, after all these years, I cared about me. My name is May. I'm 68 years old, and getting that wedding invitation was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not because of what it was, but because of what it taught me. That freedom has no age limit, that starting over is always possible, and that sometimes the people who hurt you end up giving you the greatest gift of all, the gift of realizing you never needed them in the first place.